So in the studio tonight, we've got the Razer Huntsman V2 TKL keyboard. This is a compact mechanical keyboard with linear optical switches. Now we've already reviewed its big brother, the Huntsman V2 full-sized, and we will be comparing both of those two keyboards together later on, and the full-size has the optical clicky switches, whereas this one, as I said, has the linear. We'll see what they sound like in comparison to each other. So let's get down to it, open the box and see what we've got in here. So straight away in the box, at the top there's a little pouch, a little signed sheet from the CEO, the actual quick start guide, and most importantly, the Razer stickers. Right, let's get the keyboard out. It's nicely packed in some dense foam. That's the side, wrist rest, and a braided cable. The cable out first. So then we have a nice braided cable that is USB-C. So that's good, much better than the old-fashioned micro USB. The keyboard itself, nicely wrapped. That feels good. And then the wrist rest. It's something I do enjoy because these Razer wrist rests are really nice and comfortable. Now this was very light, I guess because they've made this one a bit more travel friendly than its bigger brother. So let's take a quick look around the keyboard first. So just quickly, PBT keycaps, feel great. Obviously linear switches with a reasonable amount of pressure, that does feel very nice. So because it's the TKL, we get the actual keyboard, and then we get the navigation keys and cursors over on the side, but you don't get the full-size number pad. That makes it nice and compact, and in my opinion, one of the best layouts for gaming and typing. They also do a smaller version, which is the Huntsman Mini, and that one is absolutely tiny if you're just purely gaming. But to make it that small, they've had to take the cursor keys and crush them into the keyboard, which isn't great if you're also typing and gaming, which is what I'll be doing. So that's why I've gone for this TKL. So on the top, there's absolutely nothing, except for one little recess here for our USB-C. It's got a nice little groove on it, so it fits in there very nicely. Nothing on the sides. And if we turn it over, you can see we've got two-stage adjustable feet. And we've just got some nice, by gamers, for gamers, stamped right across the actual base. And then just some small rubber pads on the corners if you're running it with both feet in. Personally, I like to have mine with the second stage foot up. With the wrist rest, this gives you great incline for typing. Okay, so I'm going to just install Synapse on my PC now, get this up and running, and then we're going to come back and test it. So as you can see, we're now all set up. I've got my Razer Blade 16 on a Razer stand. I've got the new keyboard sitting in front of it, so it's nice and easy to test it, and you can see the screen. And I've got my Death Adder V2X. So first things first, you'll notice we've got Synapse up on the screen. It instantly picks up the keyboard, installs the drivers for it, and it's now available. And one of the first things I want to mention is just how seamless the Razer Synapse is with all of your Razer peripherals. So as you can see, all my different Razer peripherals are here, and I can click on any of the ones I want and adjust the settings. So I'm going to choose my Razer Huntsman V2 keyboard. So now that we're in the keyboard, first things first, we can adjust all of the keys functionality. Not only could you change every single key with a different macro or function, but you can also use Hypershift where you hold down a key and adjust a secondary function. So you can set a Hypershift key and then use a secondary function for all of your keys on the fly. That can be handy if you're playing a game that needs a lot of macros. Also, we've got gaming mode, but if we turn that on or enabling game, you can do things like disable the Windows key or an Alt Tab or an Alt F4 so you don't accidentally switch out of the game you're in. You'll notice over here on the right, we've got a key switch optimization between typing and gaming. Now in the typing mode, it's got a debounce delay so you don't get any double inputs when you're typing, whereas the gaming, you don't have that. So you've got the full fast optical switch straight through to the game that you're playing. You'll also see we've got the polling rate. Now, because we're plugged in with this keyboard, we can have anything from 125 right up to 8,000. Personally though, I think 1,000 is a good middle ground. It doesn't use much CPU usage, but it does make it very responsive. Now, the next big thing we've got is the lighting. Now, as you can see, we can turn the brightness on and off, so you can literally disable all the lighting with just a quick slider there. And if we're on, You can adjust this from 0 to 100%. There's a lot of different stages. So we're now at 100% brightness, and it isn't as bright as many other backlit keyboards, like even on the Razer laptop, but that's because we've got PBT double shot keycaps, and they don't allow as much lighting through. Now, me personally, I'm more than happy with this because I'd rather have a double shot PBT keycap, which is a much more hard wearing and great feeling keycap than an ABS one, and still have that shine through, which is something that's very rare with these double shot PBTs. So the only disadvantage is it's not the brightest lighting. We're at 100% now. If I put it, say, 50%, it really does dim down. But if you are in a sort of a darkened environment, it still shows up nicely. Now, by default, we have spectrum color cycling. There are a number of different effects. So there's the wave, and as you can see now, we've got the full RGB wave effect. It's one of my favorites. Fire. This looks really nice. This is what I usually run on my Blade 16, which does look better on the Blade 16 because you've got a brighter keyboard. But as I say, they're just sort of standard keycaps on a laptop, which will be ABS and quite cheap in comparison to these PBT. You can also go for a basic static, where you literally just choose a particular color. You can set it to that one color and it stays there if you've got a particular desktop or theme that you're using in your gaming sort of area. And we've also got the advanced effects, so we can go to Chroma Studio, and from within Chroma Studio we can fully customize each key. So we can literally put the WASD keys to a red. We can have the rest of the keyboard if we want to, a completely different color. Maybe go for those sort of cyan, and let's put all these like a blue. So you've got a number of different options that you can set this keyboard to. So you can also do it to a particular game or just a particular profile. In which way you like, this keyboard can be customized for it. So this really is quite fantastic. Now, me personally, because I'm quite boring, I do like to just have mine on either the wave or the fire. The fire is my favorite at the moment. It's really quite subdued, but it looks great. So now we've looked at the Synapse and the actual lighting, I want to just quickly do a typing test, just so that you can hear what these red optical switches sound like, and I'll explain what they feel like. So obviously these are a linear switch, perfectly suited for gaming, but I do also enjoy typing with them. So this is what they sound like. So as you can hear there, this really is quite quiet. The actual foam padding they put in this keyboard works really well. So you don't get a heavy bottoming out sound. You get a lovely sort of crisp, linear sort of feel. It really is great. I enjoy typing on it, but it is really good for gaming as well. So I have also got its bigger brother, the Huntsman V2 Clicky in the full size, not the TKL. So as you can see, the keyboard is very similar, except we get a number pad with these multimedia keys. Now the multimedia keys are very handy, I must admit, but obviously if you're mostly gaming, that's extra real estate that can be used for your mouse. And I find when I use a full-size keyboard, I'm often crashing into the keyboards as opposed to a TKL, which gives you that little bit of extra room without getting in your way. So I personally prefer for gaming, definitely a TKL over a full size, but if you're mostly working, then you might want to consider the full size for that number pad. Now this is the clicky Razer switch, and this sounds much louder and obviously clickier, which is nice for typing, but not so great for gaming. But even though it's got foam in this clicky version, the sound profile isn't as nice. And I've got other high-end keyboards with clicky switches which sound much nicer than this Razer. Now the actual optical linear feels and sounds fantastic. So I don't understand why it sounds so much better. It must be the switch Razer are using on their clicky switches, because these linears sound fantastic and feel great. So there we go. That's the Razer Huntsman V2 in the optical linear switch. This is a fantastic gaming keyboard. Now it doesn't have wireless, it's not got the brightest backlight, but if you're looking for a decent TKL gaming keyboard, you're never gonna worry about charging, feels great, it's also good for typing with good functionality, you cannot beat something like this.